Hello there, fabulous people. It is Jen here, and today I am going to be doing something very different. Now, I don't know if before you see this, I will have already uploaded a video just discussing what's going to be happening on the channel going forward. And if I have, I'll link that below. If not, that, will be coming later, but whichever way it works out. Basically, I never thought that I would do weekly tarot reading videos, and I watch other people's. There are people in particular who I watch their week ahead readings religiously, just because I love the way they connect with the tarot. I love the way they read. Same goes, I take what resonates and that whole leave what doesn't. People that come to mind are, it's not a tarot reading, but Tracy at Turok's Tarot does like a crystal reading, and she's just recently changed up how she does it. I watch those religiously. Nina at Shuffle Tarot, she does hers. You've got Nat at Sanskrit Blue, and I love watching them, but I never thought I would do them on my channel. I don't know why. It just wasn't a thing for me that I thought I would take my channel, but we all change our mind, right? So the reason I have decided to do this and call it Soul Connected, our week ahead wellbeing reading, is because I really want to be doing just a basic 3-card reading for the general collective, including myself, that really focuses on our soul passions, our soul purpose, connecting to that purpose, as well as, so they, sometimes it might be specifically about connecting to soul purpose, depending on what the cards bring up. Other times it might be more focused around our psychological well-being, and sometimes those two might well overlap, because I do believe that so much of our psychological well-being is impacted by whether or not we are connecting to our soul purpose and living that out. And that doesn't have to be big major things that we're doing in our life. It can be the basics of day-to-day things, if that for us is what connects us back to soul, brings us back home to ourselves. And you will have heard me use that phrase, that coming home to myself, before. You will hear me use it again going forward. But I also want to, as a part of this, provide some kind of small, easy, well, simple, maybe not always easy, strategy that if you are up for the challenge, that hopefully you will walk away from this and think about implementing that strategy or taking up that challenge. Okay, so today for the first one, I'm going to be using my Falakos Tarot. I love this tarot deck. So we are going to be shuffling and asking about, as a collective, what do we need to know right now? What message do we need to receive for being soul connected and for our psychological well-being? And I just dropped the cards everywhere, which I'm not going to cut out because I hate editing videos. Okay, so for our soul connectedness and our overall psychological well-being. Okay, I'm going to lay the cards down on the table, and then I will show you what we have. Okay, so we have 5 of Wings, which is the 5 of Swords. We have Trail of Sparks, which is our Knight of Wands. And we have our Eight of Sparks, which correlates to Eight of Wands. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've got here. And you may see me pause at moments, look at the cards, the images. That's kind of how I work when I read. So if you hate that, I'm sorry. All right. Our Five of Wings, so our Five of Swords here. And this image just, I mean, it can be quite a confronting image, really. I mean, she has this sword going through her own head. Is it by her own head? Can't really tell. No. And wow, this just really speaks to me of those negative thoughts that we keep bashing ourselves up with, that we get stuck in. And you know, yeah, it's screaming this at me, this card. Seeing the way that this sword is through her skull, her mind, her brain, it just screams that maybe we are beating ourselves up right now. We are just bashing ourselves constantly over the head by having these thoughts that are negative and not serving us. And wow, yeah, that's the biggest thing I'm getting from this card. And I'm going to put all this together, okay? And it's, the images in this are so unique. It's almost like there's a bird down here, and it's going to be hard to make out, but it's almost like this bird swallowing a heart. That may not even be a heart, but this bloodied heart. Okay. Let's have a look at our Trail of Sparks, so our Knight of Wands. And she's got her foxes. Is it just one fox? Yeah, her fox down here. I love that the aces and the knights in this deck are all black and white. And just the eyes looking off, like thinking intensely. I mean, we're not seeing the movement in this card that we would normally, I guess, see visually in a typical Knight of Wands card. But when I look at this facial expression, like, there's a lot of movement going on there thought-wise, and this might be in the area of Wands, and but yeah, I am going to put it together. Okay. And here we have our our Eight of Sparks, yes, which is our Eight of Wands. And again, very different imagery in this deck. And I'm going to be using quite a few. I will use traditional sort of decks at times, but to be able to get more of that, I guess, psychological stuff, that meaty, juicy stuff, I'm also going to be using decks like this that diverge away from the typical imagery that we are used to seeing. And this Eight of Sparks, Eight of Wands card in this deck, we're used to seeing things moving really fast. You know, you're normally seeing the wands like flying through the sky is that typical depiction. But I almost feel like this person here, I don't know how well it's going to focus. I almost feel like he, she, they have already gone through the fast-paced movement, and I kind of get this feel like they've just run a marathon or done some big athletic event and come to the end, and it's like, yeah, like I'm done. I've done that. So almost like they've gone through the fast pace and now they've got to the end of it. You know, we've also got up here, and again, because of the images in these are very different, it's going to be hard to make out a lot of them, but up here, you know, we've got someone doing like a gymnast pose. Those are, you know, we've got a little tiger cub down here. Those are kind of the main things that are jumping out at me, but particularly the stance on this person. Like, he's gone through, he, she, they have gone through this fast-paced activity, and they've got to the end, and it's like either, oh, I've been victorious, or thank fuck that's over. Okay, which I can take either or from this image. Okay, so maybe right now, one of the biggest things that we are really struggling with is these negative thoughts, and we all have them. None of us are immune to negative thoughts. The problem comes when we don't challenge them. The problem comes when we accept them as being truth, okay? Our thoughts are nothing more than words, okay? They are not reality. They are not truth, no matter how real they feel. They are not truth. They're just words, and words are just letters, and letters are just lines all put together, lines and squiggles all put together. And one way I like to imagine, like visualize this to help people, if you remember those like alphabet magnets that you could get for the fridge, maybe you had them as a kid, or if you've got kids, maybe you had them for your kids, and that might form a word. Okay, so you might write a word with these magnetized letters on the fridge, but and that word might say negative, okay? But if I come along and I just smush that up, it's no longer a word, right? It's just letters. And if I could break those letters apart and smush them up further, it's just gonna be squiggles and lines. And when we break our thoughts down to that most basic process, that's all they are. They're just symbols put together to form words, to form sentences that we then choose, and yes, we do choose, to believe in. And I feel like right now this is a big message for any of us, myself included. Okay, there's been a lot of negative thoughts going on in my own head, and I'm doing a lot of work to challenge those. But I kind of feel like right now we have to start paying attention. We have to start paying attention to the damage that these thoughts are doing to us on a daily basis, and we need to challenge them. And, you know, bringing into that our Knight of Wands. Now, as I said, we're typically seeing a Knight of Wands like moving forward quite quickly, you know, particularly in the wand suit, right, with our knights. This person here is just looking off into the distance, you know. So I almost feel like this is not about a physical action right now. This is about thinking, an action of thinking and doing the hard work around challenging these thoughts, because it is hard, it's not easy, and it's ongoing, and it never bloody ends, okay? And I just, yeah, this fox as well that stands out sort of says to me, don't bullshit yourself, don't lie to yourself. It takes a lot of bravery to do the hard work to help us and help our mental well-being. And I also feel like we can definitely connect this back to soul purpose, being about, you know, being in the suit of wands, creativity, passions. And what are we passionate about? What are we passionate about? It's time to really start focusing on where our passions lie, working out how the hell this is getting in the way of that, and start challenging this so that we can start moving forward in the passion areas of our life. Okay? And I almost, like, I'm getting this hit that for some of us, and this so rings true for me as well, that we're at a place now, for some of you who may be thinking about what meaning you want to bring to your life, you know. And to find that, we often have to get through this bullshit. Okay. And let's look at our Eight of Sparks card here. Now, like I said, I feel like with our person here, they've already gone fast-paced. And maybe it's time now that they've got to the end, you know, and things may still continue to kind of be moving quickly and changing, but it's also time to take a little breather between that. And this makes so much sense to me with where we've been. Like, this pandemic, it may have slowed a lot of us down physically, but mentally, psychologically, emotionally, so many of us in those realms, life got crazy fast-paced. It got out of control. It got, you know, the thoughts racing, and some of those were good. It was all about, what can I do? I've got this free time. I can finally get things done. And some people, you may have used that to their advantage. Others, I know from talking to people, almost got stuck with it, you know, because they weren't used to living this life. And you add on the anxiety of everything that has come up through that. And, you know, it was like people couldn't get on top of the things that they wanted to do in a lot of cases. But just because we were slowed physically, so many of us were still just hell for leather in all other areas of our life when it came to these racing thoughts about what's going to happen. Am I going to be safe? Is my family going to be safe? You know, obviously people who experienced the full extent of the tragedy of the pandemic, the uncertainty, what happened, what has happened with people in their jobs, their careers, with the economy in general, how that's like everything thought-wise internally became just so fast-paced during this pandemic. And I really get the sense with this that things are slowly starting to return to a normality when it comes to lockdown, you know, restrictions starting to be lifted and all of that kind of thing. So maybe it's time now to not forget, to really take a look at the lessons you learnt, the things you wanted to do, the things you didn't get to do, how it impacted your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, all those ways. Like, I know there were aspects to it that I took a lot of positive things from, having been in lockdown, and changed a lot, but it doesn't mean that was easy either. So maybe going, okay, the fast pace of the thoughts and the emotions might be starting to slow. Now let's take a break. Let's review, and let's be a little more flexible. You know, our gymnast up here, let's be a little bit more flexible in the way we're thinking about it and reflecting on it. So kind of putting all of these together, just got to peer my head out so I can see. I really feel like this is kind of speaking to everything I desired my weekly readings to be about, that we need to start challenging these thoughts and maybe the negative thoughts that have arisen, you know, because of the pandemic and everything moving really fast with those thoughts. We need to start really moving forward in our thought processes for working out what is going to provide us with passion, where we want to be, where we need to connect back to soul, to come home to ourselves, to find who we are, okay? So that we can get on top of these shitty, horrible, nasty, awful things that we keep beating ourselves up with, right? Because we all do it at times, and it does take work, and I think it's time to start thinking about how we're going to move forward from that, and that we're going to do that by reflecting on what has happened, how far we've come, what worked, what didn't work, what was positive, what was negative out of everything we've just gone through with the fast-paced changes that have happened, even with the fast-paced changes that have happened over the death of George Floyd, and that amped things up quickly, that made the sparks fly, that drove people's passions, and everyone has reacted differently to that. We're seeing it everywhere. Some people are reacting with violence, some people are reacting with donating money to charitable causes that are actually working towards this. Some people have done peaceful protests. We've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of the fast pace of this as well. So, you know, combining what we're seeing now in our world and how things have changed dramatically in 2020 over the course of a few months, and now again the upheaval over these last couple of weeks, really starting to think about, okay, where are you holding yourself back? What are these negative thoughts doing to you? Where do you need to start putting your focus, your passion, start really doing the deep dive work of what's going to uplift you and inspire you, both coming out of the pandemic and what you've learned, and coming out what we're currently seeing with the heartbreak of this world and people standing up yet again, but I think with more force this time, which is needed, against the injustices of our world. So I hope you took something from that. It's a lot longer than I anticipated it to be, so that aren't all my videos, right? If you follow me, you know that's just how I work. And the strategy that I would just like to give you if you're up for the challenge is a very basic one. I want you to sit down and write out the good, the bad, the ugly, all the learnings that have come for you in 2020 thus far, with the big upheavals that we've seen, first with the pandemic and now with everything going on in the US and of course spread across the world, with the Black Lives Matter movement. And I want you to write down sorry, I just got interrupted by a phone call then. I want you to think about all the thoughts that have, sorry, I got totally thrown off because the phone call came from my son in the next bloody room, who I'm pretty sure could have heard me talking. Anyway, thinking about the thoughts that have gone through your mind, the good thoughts, the negative thoughts, what ones you're still holding on to, what it's made you feel about yourself, what it's made you feel about the world at large, the fears, the anxieties. And I want you to then take 3 or 4 of those thoughts and challenge them. Because remember what I talked about at the beginning, thoughts are nothing, okay? They only have meaning when we give meaning to them. They're just letters strung together. and we get to choose, and it's difficult, but we do get to choose which ones we believe. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this little segment, and let me know if you take on the challenge and you actually sit down and take the time to do this work to help you improve your own life. And I definitely know anything I ever give you as a strategy, as a challenge, please know I will be doing it too. All right, much love. Bye all.